As we move closer and closer to December, there it is, the view outside right now, looking rather nice. Autumn is definitely in the air as the birds fly past my studio window. This is English Addict, coming to you live and direct from the birthplace of the English language. Of course, you know where it is. We all know where it is. It is England. Is there anyone there? Well, is there? Hi everybody, this is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you feeling good today? I hope you have one of these on your face. And if you don't, maybe I can put one there for you. My name is Mr. Duncan. I talk about English. My name is Duncan. That is the name my parents decided to give me. And I've decided to keep it. After nearly 60 years, I've decided to keep it with me because I quite like it. I think it suits me. Some people, I don't know why, but some people seem to have a name that suits them. And people in the past have said to me, they've said, Mr. Duncan suits you as a name. You look like a Duncan. Isn't that strange? So I wonder now, if we are given a certain name by our parents, do we actually grow into that name? Do we become that particular person? So the name perhaps shapes us as a person. I'm not sure how true that is, but it's something to think about, isn't it? On a Wednesday. Here we are then. It is the 27th of November. Already we are coming towards the end of November. December is coming. A lot of people are getting excited because they love to have December for various reasons. First of all, it gives people a chance to say goodbye to the year. Maybe your year has not been very good and you are glad to see it go. Or maybe you are looking forward to Christmas. So we will see what happens next month. Another month waiting to happen. And of course it will be the end of 2024. A new year is also approaching as well. A lot of people asked, Mr. Duncan, what is it behind you? There are many things behind you whilst you do your live stream. What are they, those things? Please tell me. So if you were watching at the very beginning, you would have seen a very close-up view of what is behind me. And now you will know there are lots of photographs of my experiences here on YouTube, and especially meeting you in person, which is something we've done twice now, and both times we had a very lovely, wonderful experience together. And in 2025 we are planning to do it again. At the moment we don't have any definite plans. However, we know we will be in Paris, but also, I'm not sure if I should say this at the moment, but there might be a second destination. Ooh, Mr. Duncan, we are intrigued. A different country. So Paris, France is the first one, but we might be going somewhere else as well. So there might actually be two chances, two opportunities for you to meet up. We will see what happens, because next year, on a personal level, for myself and also Mr. Steve, it is going to be a very big year. That's all I can say. some big changes are coming concerning myself and Mr. Steve. That is all I'm saying for now. Nice to see the live chat. Hello to everyone. It's lovely to see you here. We have Vitas and also Beatrice once again. The battle of the fingers is taking place. Congratulations, you are both first on today's live chat. Congratulations. Who else is here today? I wonder who else is here today. Maybe if I have a look at the live chat, I will get the answer. We also have Palmyra. Irene is here. Also Zudzika. Mosen. It's so good to see you all back with me today. Also, who else is here? I need to get all of these names read out or else I might get into trouble, you see. English is fun. Hello to English is fun. I agree with you. English is fun. You are right. Who else is here today? Dorothy. Hello, Dorothy. Dorothy. I hope you enjoyed my little song there, dedicated to Dorothy. Very nice to see you back with us again today. Lots of things to talk about, by the way. We are looking at something that some people might describe it as highbrow. Something that is highbrow. A thing that is highbrow is a certain thing that is viewed as being sophisticated, with a little bit of class, education, perhaps. Highbrow. Ooh, Mr. Duncan, we like that phrase. So if we describe something as being highbrow, it is something sophisticated, maybe something stylish, or maybe something that is of interest to us as individuals. Today we are looking at art. Ooh, I've never done this before. I can safely say that I've never looked at the subject of art today. It does surprise me because I am very keen on art. As a teenager, I used to spend hours and hours drawing pictures from wildlife, from things that I see around me, and I was really into it. I have to say, I think, I wouldn't say that I was great at it, but I did enjoy doing it. So today we are looking at art, everything connected with that subject. But please don't click away. It won't be boring because it's me doing it. So, of course, it's not going to be boring at all. Also, we will be saying hello to more people on the live chat as you arrive here. It is very nice to see you. And we will have a little game as well today. I'm going to show you some pictures, or should I say a small part of a famous painting. So we will be playing that a little bit later on. Guess the painting. Famous paintings I will show you later on, and if you can guess what they are, then I suppose we can have a good time doing that as well. Of course, the name of the game is English. Learning English, talking about English, listening to English. It is, quite literally, the world of English. And as we all know, it's a fun and exciting place to be. I'm so glad you could join me today for this live stream. Christina is here today. Hello, Christina. It's good to see you back. Hello Chandrasekhar. Chandrasekhar. Did I pronounce your name correctly? I wonder. I have a feeling maybe not. We have a lot to talk about, and I hope you will stay here for this lovely Wednesday. The sun is out. Everything is rather nice. We have a lovely, beautiful, nice autumn day here in England, and I hope you will stay with me today. Have you ever picked a fight with someone on the internet? Have you ever got into an argument with someone through the internet? So not face to face, not directly, but just through the internet, maybe on a message board, or maybe in the comments section, under a video, or maybe underneath a newspaper article, and you leave your comment, and then another person disagrees with you, and then suddenly you start having this argument, this fight through the internet. So you don't even know who the person is, but you start having an argument. I got into an argument on the internet. It's very unusual for me to do that because I don't normally do it, but there was an article that I read in a local newspaper, and of course they published the newspaper on the internet, and it was all about people who own dogs. I know what you're going to say, Mr. Duncan, be careful. There are many dog owners. There are many people who love dogs, some of them more than human beings, in fact. But this particular article was about people who do not have any respect for their neighbours. And one of the big problems that I've noticed are neighbours who allow their dogs to bark constantly for long periods of time, sometimes in the early morning, sometimes very late at night. So I decided to write a little comment underneath this story. And then suddenly, within maybe an hour, I had started an argument with another person who accused me of being unreasonable. So my point was not against dogs. It was actually against people who disturb their neighbours for various reasons. There are many reasons why your neighbour might cause a problem for you as an individual. And I think the point I made was rather reasonable. I don't think I was trying to annoy or upset anyone. Definitely not. I don't normally try to upset people because at the end of the day, it achieves nothing. You might actually give yourself a bad name. People might start to think that you are not a very nice person if you keep trying to upset other people. Even though nowadays I know a lot of people like to get attention by saying things that are controversial, but I wasn't doing that. I simply said that one of the annoying things that neighbours do is to allow their dog to bark in the garden or for long periods of time outside. And it can get rather annoying if it happens over a long period of time. But of course, some people will not agree with that. And I can safely say I was not attacking dogs. Definitely not. Dogs are lovely when they are nice, when they don't bite you on the arm, when they are not growling at you or barking all day because the neighbour has left it outside. It's wonderful. So before I knew what was happening, I had got into this incredible argument with someone who I didn't know. So they were just doing the same thing as me. They were reading the article, and then underneath they were looking at the comments. And let's face it, these days I have noticed that a lot of people watch videos or read news stories just so they can look at the comments. So they pay more attention to the comments underneath than the actual story itself, because they want to see people disagreeing. Sometimes people like watching other people have an argument. But I never meant it as an attack. But it can happen very quickly. Suddenly, without trying, you can actually get into an argument. I did try to defend myself, but of course there is no point. There is no point trying to defend yourself, because if you reply to their reply, then they will reply back. And normally this situation can go on for a very long time. You have the right of telling what you want, even if other people don't agree with your point of view. Thank you, Claudia. It is true, but I do understand that people love to have an animal. They love to have a pet. It is good company. And of course, dogs are very lovable, and they will give love without wanting anything in return. We often talk about unconditional love. Unconditional love is something you give when you don't want anything back in return. So I think dogs are great from that point of view. They love to give love without expecting anything in return. Unlike human beings, let's just say, people quite often will give love, but sometimes they will want something in return. It can be anything, not just money, although it does happen, I have to say. Hello, live chat. Nice to see you all here today. It's quiet today. Why? Why is it so quiet on the live chat? I wonder. Maybe there is something really exciting going on. Perhaps there is a breaking news story that I'm completely unaware of. One of the strange things about doing this is when you're standing here doing a live stream, you do kind of become sealed in a bubble. So there could be anything happening at the moment in the world, and I know nothing about it. Could be anything. Anything could be happening right now out there. Christina says, I always try to avoid confrontations over comments on the internet because it can become very unpleasant. You are right. But I don't normally do this. This is the point that I have to make. I don't normally do this. But I felt as if I just wanted to say something because it seemed like an important thing. But I did not expect to start a full war. As we all know, once you enter into that situation, once you start fighting, once you have a war, of course, can be physical, and it can be a war of words, which is what I appeared to be having on the internet a couple of days ago. Beatrice says, I totally agree, Mr. Duncan. Arguing is wasting energy without having any good results. It is true. And sometimes, of course, it is hard to argue with people. Sometimes it's very difficult, especially if the subject is a sensitive one. Now, we have something here going on in the UK. I wasn't going to mention this, and the reason is because it's a very sensitive subject. But here in the UK, we are at the moment debating something called assisted dying. And it's something that is very controversial. So a person who feels as if they don't want to live any longer, they feel as if they are coming to the end of their life, maybe they are suffering from a serious illness, something that is causing them a lot of pain and agony, and they want to end their suffering. This is something that is being talked about at the moment here in the UK. In fact, there is a vote taking place in the Houses of Parliament. I think it's on Friday. Is it on Friday? I think it is Friday. And they're going to be talking about this very big subject. And a lot of people, of course, have been debating it, talking about it, arguing about it. So I would say that certain topics, certain types of discussion can be rather difficult. They can be difficult things to discuss or to talk about. So that is the reason why sometimes it is best not to argue or try to debate something. Certain subjects are often left alone. And I think we all know what the subjects are. Politics, religion, two subjects that if you start talking about them with other people, you might find that you eventually argue and maybe even fight over your own opinions. A little bit later on, we are going to look at an interesting subject, art. I love art. I remember as a child, one of the things that had a big influence on my life was when my school arranged a trip. I think this must have been in the mid-1970s. And we went down to London to the Royal Academy of Art, and they had a big exhibition there featuring some impressionists, a style of painting where you bring the realism of something, but you put your own interpretation of it into the painting. That basically is Impressionism. I would imagine most people have heard of Monet, a very popular and well-known impressionist when it comes to painting. Hello to Luis. Oh, Luis Mendez is here today. Hello, Luis. Nice to see you here. Now, that's an interesting point that you make. Sometimes I argue with myself. Yes, it can happen. I think that's a very good point. Sometimes it is possible for an individual to have some sort of argument with themselves. We often refer to this as inner conflict. So you have internal conflict. Maybe something you feel you should do, but also at the same time you feel as if you should not do it. You can have something called inner conflict or inner turmoil. It means you have your own argument, you have your own debate taking place inside. And yes, it does happen. I think we all do it. We all do it, especially when you are trying to solve a problem. It can bring a lot of inner conflict. Hello, Hector. Hector Benitez. Hector Benitez. It's nice to see you here. I hope you enjoyed that. I have to be careful though, because my throat is very sensitive. So if I do too much singing, I might destroy my voice. Talking of which, poor Mr. Steve. He's not feeling very well. Again, he had to go to the doctors yesterday, and he has all of the inside of his nose and his sinuses are all swollen and painful. So that is what Mr. Steve is going through at the moment. We are supposed to be going to see some friends this weekend as well. So a personal message now. Sonia and Brent, if you are watching at the moment, we might, I'm not saying we will, but we might cancel Saturday's visit. We are going to see how Mr. Steve feels. Last night, Steve disappeared, he vanished, and he went to bed in the early evening. He just disappeared. I had no idea where he was. So he's still a little unwell. We will see what happens. We are supposed to be going to see some friends this weekend. We're going to have a lovely curry. It's been a long time since we went out for a curry. So we are really looking forward to that. But no, Mr. Steve is not feeling great. He's taking something to put up his nose to try and solve his problem. So hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed, Mr. Steve will be with us this weekend. We will see what happens. I'm going to have a quick break. Do you mind? Is it okay if I have a quick break? Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. We'll be right back in a moment with more English Addict.
I'm a big boy now.
Wednesday, Wednesday is here. There you can see we have Wednesday, we have English Addict, and we have me, Mr. Duncan. That's me, by the way. For those wondering, who is that strange man on my computer device? It's me, Mr. Duncan. It's very nice to see you here today. We are going to get highbrow. We are going to get a little sophisticated. I hope you don't mind if I do that. Today we're going to look at art. Would you like to look at some art with me? Well, we will be doing that in a few moments. In fact, we will be playing a little game where you can have a go at guessing the famous piece of art. We will be doing that in a few moments from now. But first of all, I suppose the big question is, what is art? What is it? How do we define art in English? Now, I'm sure at some point in your lives you have been maybe to a museum or an art gallery, a place maybe that has a lot of art. And we will look at the different ways in which art can be expressed and also represented as well. So that is what we are doing today. First of all, the word art is a noun that means a created work, an actual thing intended for the quality, production, expression or realm of things that conform to accepted aesthetic principles of beauty. Now, I know what you're going to say, Mr. Duncan, there are some big words there. So when we talk about art, we are talking about expressing yourself or expressing a certain feeling. Art is there for us to create, to view, and also to experience as well as a human being. The principles of beauty, the aesthetic principles of beauty. And yes, that is an interesting word, aesthetic. We will look at that in a couple of moments. A product of the imagination is art, something that is created. It comes from the mind, it can often also come from the heart, and it can come from the soul. Something created, something that is giving a message of some sort is also art. And of course, the word I just used a few seconds ago, aesthetic. Aesthetic. Something aesthetic is a noun. The notion of what is attractive and what is repulsive. Aesthetic. It is a word we use quite often when we are talking about the representation of beauty or maybe something that is unattractive. It is, you might say, it's a type of scale or a type of level. And we all have it. Aesthetic is the notion of what is attractive and what is repulsive. Put simply, beauty and being ugly. A beautiful thing, an ugly thing. Everyone has their own personal feeling or opinion of what comes in or what comes under those categories. What is beautiful and what is unattractive? A personal idea or judgment of what is tasteful or pleasing. So you might say it is an individual feeling, one person's own thought. As an adjective, to have a sense of beautiful, to be refined in one's taste. So you can describe a person or a thing as having aesthetic, to be aesthetic, to have a sense of beautiful things, what is attractive and what is not. I suppose in other ways we can use the word taste as well. Taste. Once again, back to the subject of art, the capturing of a distinct form of beauty or reality in the form of drawing, painting, poetry, music, movement, or anything that you are creating. All of those things can be described as art. We can also have the phrase art form. An art form is the process of creating art. So the formation, the method, the art form, the method or inspiration leading to the creation of art. And I think art, or being able to produce something creative, is part of the human condition. I really do think it's a big part of what makes everyone individual. Music, I suppose when we think of creativity, music is also a type of art. It expresses the mood or the feeling, a certain type of emotion. Art relates to forms of expression, from what is imagined to what is produced as the final item of art. So generally speaking, the word art covers a large area, a big area. It is a general term for creativity, making something, writing something, painting a picture. There are areas of art. For example, we often refer to fine art. Fine art is relating to certain styles and concepts. The word concept just means the idea or the way something has been formed or created. An idea that you have, maybe your concept or your idea for a picture or a story. We can have lots of styles and concepts in art, such as painting, sculpture. Now that is another interesting area of art. Have you ever seen a work of sculpture? There is something quite awe-inspiring about the sight, especially when the thing is huge. Now, I remember a few months ago we went to Florence and we saw not the original but a reproduction of Michelangelo's David. So it wasn't the original one because that is now kept in a safe place. You can still see it, but it is indoors. But this particular one was a copy. And even though it was a copy, even though it was not the original, it was still amazing to look at. All that work, all the effort that went into it. So you can have sculpture, drawing, watercolour. So quite often people will paint with different styles or different materials. Watercolour, a very delicate type of painting. And then you have other types. Oil painting, very heavy. Normally you put the paint on very thick and fast. You do it fast and quickly. Watercolours tend to be done more carefully, with more patience and time. Graphics covers a lot of things. Design, maybe in architecture, or maybe designing a certain device. Graphics basically is anything that can be displayed. These days, a lot of people use computers to design things. So you can have a lot of things done on computer related to graphics as well. Something that is displayed, something that can be observed. And of course, as I just mentioned, architecture. We often forget about architecture. I'm sure at some point you've walked around your own town without even looking at the buildings around you. And it does happen when you live in a particular place. Quite often you will forget how beautiful the place in which you live is. You might not even look at the buildings around you. You almost forget about it. Architecture. That is one of the things I really did enjoy seeing when I was in Rome. Some of the amazing architecture, some of it dating back 2 or even 3,000 years. Quite incredible. There is, of course, another type of art, commercial art. This is something that is often looked down on. A lot of people don't like commercial art. So you have the fine art, which is often agreed with, and then you have commercial art, which a lot of people don't like. So commercial art often relates to popular styles of art intended for mass production, something you are going to make lots of. So when we talk about mass production, we are talking about something being made again and again and again. Things are mass produced. Of course, commercial art can also be used in advertising. We often forget that there are people working very hard to create advertising, pictures, films, videos, all relating to that one area, advertising. So commercial art can also refer to advertising. Maybe you have art for profit. There are some artists over the years who now produce art almost like a factory, rather than having one thing created and that's it. You don't make anything else. You make that one thing. So you don't make hundreds of copies of that one thing. You make one unique item, and that's it. Something that is pleasing to the eye, something that everyone will appreciate. And of course, as we all know, the more rare something is, the more valuable it becomes. So if there is only one thing in the world, the original thing, of course it will have more value. So there are two types of art. There is art which is maybe sophisticated, fine art. It is viewed in a very different way from commercial art, which often has a bad reputation. We often refer to the arts. So when we talk about the arts, we are talking generally speaking, as a grouping of different art forms together. When learning about or discussing forms of art, we refer to this grouping as the arts. So what you are doing is putting all of those things together, and you are using it as a group, the arts. So that involves everything. So whenever you hear someone talk about the arts, they are talking about all of the things, all of the creative things that can be made. Generally, the subject of art covers a large area of creativity. And there is another interesting word, to be creative. Now, I believe that every human being on the planet has some sort of creativity inside them. But for most people, they never try to search for it. They never look for it. However, I think everyone has something, some type of creativity inside. And there are many reasons why a person might not pursue their creativity. Maybe they are just afraid. Maybe they are scared of what people will say. Maybe they are worried that they will fail at doing it. The written word is our first one. The written word can be used creatively in writing of stories, the writing of poetry, or anything. Maybe you write a script for a play or a theatre production. Then we have music composition, of course, something very difficult, a very technical area to compose music, to have a sense of music. Drawing. I did mention earlier that I used to do a lot of drawing, a lot of different types of drawing, often involving nature. Painting is another one. Of course, we have Beatrice. Hello, Beatrice. Beatrice is a painter, and she very kindly gave 2 of her paintings to me earlier this year. Also, we have sculpting. As I mentioned earlier, for me, it is one of the most impressive art forms to take a piece of marble and create something from it, merely by using a chisel and a hammer. Incredible. I never fail to be impressed by people who can do that. Then we have architecture, designers, people who design buildings. You can design a large area where people are going to live, or maybe a new museum or a new library. You can design a building, architecture. We have photography. Don't forget, photography also covers video as well. So you might say that what I do is creative and the area is photography. So even though most of my work is video, that is still classed as photography because you are capturing images. So the images can be still or moving. And of course, I've put this at the bottom because I suppose it is a type of creativity. You are acting on the stage, acting in a movie. It's not an easy thing to do. It looks easy, but I can tell you now, it is not. It is not an easy thing to do. Art is seen as subjective. So here is another interesting word. The word is subjective. Something that is subjective. That is to say, a certain type of art style might be more pleasing to a particular person, one individual, than another style. So you might see different types of art, but only some of that art will be interesting to you. Other types of art you might not be interested in, and it does happen. So art is often seen as subjective from an individual's point of view, their feeling towards it. That is to say, each person has their own taste and opinion of what good art is. And we often hear this. We often hear people talk about different types of creativity. Maybe a certain movie, a certain painting, a certain piece of music. Some people like it and some people don't. It is subjective. When we talk about the word subjective, to be subjective is to express your feelings or opinion about something. You offer speculation. You offer your thoughts on a certain topic. Then we have objective. To be objective is to state opinions or viewpoints based on what is known. Factual opinion. So a person might express opinions that are objective. They are based on things that are real, true, or have been proven. So there is a big difference there between the word subjective and objective. Christina is going. I will see you later, Christina. Don't worry. Of course, you can watch this again with captions later on. Art is judged on an individual basis. So when you see something, you will immediately have an opinion about it, whether you like it, whether it is something you enjoy looking at. So art is judged on an individual basis. Each piece of art is evaluated and analysed. To evaluate something is to work out its worth. To evaluate. Is it something I like or is it something I don't like? I think a lot of people do that when they see me. Maybe some people see me and they go, "Oh, who's this guy?" And some people might see me and say, "Oh my God, what is that? What is that on my screen?" And then suddenly they will click away and go back to TikTok. So this is often based on a person's taste, something that a person likes, something that a person dislikes. We often talk about taste. So it is not just related to the taste in your mouth. It can also be the way you feel about certain things, certain types of music, certain art, certain places, certain people. There might be a certain type of person you don't like. Maybe a happy person, maybe a positive person. For some people, that can be very annoying to have around. So a person's taste, the things they enjoy and the things they hate or dislike. And we all have things that we dislike. We all have things that we don't enjoy. The word artist, of course, a person who creates something is referred to as an artist. However, I always find this interesting, that the person who creates the art quite often will not consider themselves an artist. An artist is always in the eye of the beholder. So you might see a person creating something. You will immediately see them as an artist. I think it's unusual for a person who creates art to keep referring to themselves as an artist. They are just doing something that they feel is right. That is where art comes from. It comes from the soul. So the word artist generally refers to the person creating the artistic piece. Composer, they write. A composer writes music or the lyrics for a song. You can have a writer or author. You can have a designer or stylist. Design can be designing furniture, or maybe in fashion you can have a designer. So a designer is often used to describe a person designing things that are made or used, clothing, furniture, things like that. And of course we have stylist. I've included stylist. A stylist is often associated with beauty. A person who might design clothing, or of course they might do the makeup. And we have a sculptor, once again, a person who can create all sorts of things from a big lump of wood or a big lump of marble. Although a person who works with wood is often described as a carver. They carve wood. A photographer, as I said earlier, a photographer can be someone who takes photographs, still photographs, or, like me, they make videos. They use a video camera or even their phone to make movies and videos. And of course we have auteur. An auteur is a person who makes movies and a person who creates films. Maybe they write, they produce, they have overall control of that process. So a person who produces, directs, decides what happens in the movie, an auteur. Some people have a natural ability to create a particular type of art. So everyone has their own skill, maybe something they are good at in the creative area. So some people have a natural ability to do something, to create something. They are described as artistic. A person who is artistic is someone who is good at creating art. It can be anything. Quite often something made by hand, a painting, maybe something that is made from pottery. Maybe a person will use clay to create something. So quite often a person with a natural ability to create is described as artistic. They have a flair for creating art. If you have a flair for something, it means you have an ability. You have something that you can do. There is maybe a talent or a certain type of ability that you can do. You have a flair for that particular thing. The natural ability to create using one's imagination. Let's face it, a lot of creativity does come from up here. Things that people dream about or think about. Maybe they have fantasies up here and then they write them down. Quite often you can be creative by thinking or imagining something, and it does happen quite often. So the natural ability to create using one's imagination. A person is able to do something, they are literally creating something that did not exist before. I suppose you could also say that is what art is, something that exists that did not exist before, something created quite often by an individual. And that is one of the reasons why I think a lot of people do respect artists. Artists do often receive a lot of praise and respect from other people, and I think that is quite a nice thing. But I still think I believe that everyone has something something inside ready to come out. I think so. Thank you for your lovely company today. Before we go, we're going to have a little bit of fun, something quick before I leave you. I'm going to show you some pieces of art, famous paintings. So I'm going to ask you to see, have a look, and try to guess what these pictures are. So they are all famous works of art. You might not know the name of them, you might not know the name of the artist, but please guess. Please give it a try. You never know. You might be right. So here is the first one. Here is the first piece of art. Oh, that's interesting. Now that does look familiar. To me, that looks very familiar. Interesting. It looks like the top of a chimney. Maybe there should be smoke coming out of it, perhaps. If anyone knows what painting that is, please let me know on the live chat. I will have to give it a few moments, of course, because there is a delay. So when I show you something on the live stream, normally there is around about a 40-second delay. So it takes around about 40 seconds for this to reach you. Alexandra is here. Hello, Alexandra. I hope I pronounced your name correctly today, because I know sometimes I don't pronounce it correctly. So this is a famous piece of art by a well-known artist, very well known for his surreal art. A later artist. We often think of painters and artists as being dead for a long time, but this particular artist was still around in the early 1900s. A very famous painting, and one that I really do admire. In fact, I've shown this particular painting in one of my lessons. In the past, I've shown this painting to you. I will now give you the answer. Here is the answer, everyone. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. It is a famous painting, and there it is. The title of the painting, for those wondering, it is by an artist, René Magritte, and it is called The Treachery of Images. So in this particular painting, you are looking at an object, but the object is not the pipe. The object you are looking at is the picture. And that is the point of this particular piece of art. And it says this is not a pipe. This is not a pipe. He's right. It isn't. It's a painting. It's a painting. It's a representation of something, a certain object. Thank you, Claudia, for saying, no one knows, Mr. Duncan. Why are you giving us something so difficult? I agree. But there it is. There is a famous painting, and it is one that always fascinates me because it is using art to make us think in a different way. And that's one of the reasons why I love art so much, because quite often you can see something and it will have an effect on you. It will leave you feeling in a certain way. Here is another one. I'll show you another one. I'm almost certain I'm certain that this is a mistake, but here we go. Does anyone know what this is? Does anyone know? Anyone? Anyone? This is a very famous painting. A apparently it was inspired by the artist when he was walking along during a sunset. And the sunset was vivid. There were people walking around, and he was suddenly struck by the enormity of life, how big everything is, how complex the world is, and yet how fragile it is at the same time. It's almost too terrifying to imagine. Ah, well done. Beatrice says, is it the shout? Well, you were near. You were very near, very close. This is a very famous painting. Often people have done their own versions of this particular painting for themselves. Even me. There is a version of this painting that I made with me in the actual painting. There it is. The full version is there. And the title is The Scream. The Scream by Edvard Munch. That is his name. The Scream. It is literally the depiction of the realization of the enormity of life, everything, existence. That one moment of time affected the artist in a profound way, and he created this piece of art from it. A well-known piece of art, and I'm sure you've seen it somewhere represented in a certain way. Hello, Jimmy. Thank you, Jimmy, for what you just said. That's very kind of you. Here's another one. I think this will be the last one. Oh, this is one of my all-time favourite paintings, by the way. This is one of those paintings that fascinates me, not because of the subject, or not only because of the subject, but also the way in which the painting has been created using lots of dots. So as you get closer to this particular painting, you will realise that it is not brush strokes. It's actually dots. Each part of that painting is one dot. You might these days describe them as pixels, even though technically they are not. This is a very well-known painting. If you've ever seen the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, this painting was actually featured in that movie. And it is one of those paintings that you can look at for a long time because there are so many things contained within the painting. So this particular painting is quite well known. And there it is. There is the full version of the painting. And I know what you're saying. Mr. Duncan, of course. We know that painting very well. It is a small place in Paris, a small islet, a small island. And it used to be very popular with people. They would go there and they would sit by the Seine and look out. And there you can see a depiction of that particular thing. Georges Seurat, and it is called Le Grand Jatte in Paris. And this is a place where people would meet, they would gather. However, there is a rather interesting story behind this painting because it looks as if people are just meeting and walking around enjoying themselves. However, art critics have said that there is much more going on in this painting. Some of those ladies are, let's just say they are of ill virtue. Mr. Duncan, what are you saying there? It's a very interesting painting. I think this is one of my favourite paintings because you can look at it for a long time and you can see lots of different things happening, small details, things that you might not have noticed in the past. So I do love these paintings. I love all of them, but that has to be one of my most favourite paintings of all. Jimmy from Hong Kong, are you still watching? Here we go. Here's another one. I think this is an easy one, by the way. I think everyone knows this one. What is this painting? It is probably the most famous painting, the most famous portrait in the world. And now I know that everyone is going to get it. I'm almost certain. Claudia says, what about Renoir? Renoir, of course, a well-known artist, and I do enjoy his water lilies. There is a place in Paris you can go to, and there is a large art gallery in a huge room, and the room goes round in a circle, and on the walls there are these huge paintings by Claude Monet. They are absolutely huge paintings. The next time I go to Paris, I want to go and see those. I really do. Yes, of course. I know it's obvious. Very obvious. Mr. Duncan, that one is too easy. We've all guessed what that is. Yes, it is the Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa. Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. Of course, a lot of people call it the Mona Lisa. But in fact, it's referred to normally as Mona Lisa. That's it. Simply and precisely is what it is. Of course, there are a lot of stories about this young lady as well. Who she is, where she is sitting, and why she looks so happy. Maybe it's because I've come to the end of today's live stream. Maybe that's the reason why she has a big smile on her face. It might not. So I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson. I know for some people it will be boring, and I did notice as soon as I started talking about art, a lot of people did go. They did leave. So thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for staying here and enjoying this artistic moment of time. I will be back on Sunday with something a little different and also a little bit the same. Hopefully Steve will be with us on Sunday. He's not feeling very well again. He has a little problem with his sinuses up here. So I'm hoping that will be put right by the weekend, because we are supposed to be going out visiting some friends on Saturday. That is very nice. Thank you very much for your company. Mr. Duncan, did you know about Vincent van Gogh? Well, of course. Again, another painter. Everyone knows about him. And of course, more people are familiar with him than his actual paintings. For one particular reason. We all know what it is. And he is a person who, well, was a person who was quite troubled, but also, I would say he was a genius as well. Quite often, people who turn out to be geniuses are also troubled in some way. Not that I would know that, because I'm not a genius. Thank you very much for your company. I'm back on Sunday, 2 p.m. UK time is when I'm back with you. Maybe today you can find some art to look at. Or maybe, here's a good idea, maybe you can find a piece of paper and a pencil and you can do a little drawing. Maybe you can create some art of your own. Go on, do it now. Grab a pencil, find a piece of paper and draw something. And if you want to send it to me, then why not? Why not send it to me? I will put my address on the screen right now. Here it is. So there it is on the screen. You can get in touch with me at this email address. Send me your drawings. You can draw a picture. You can draw a picture of Mr. Steve and myself. Or maybe you can draw a picture of a dog or a cat or maybe your own pet. So come on, let's get creative. Show me what you can do. Give me a taste of your creativity. Thank you very much for joining me. See you on Sunday from 2 p.m. UK time is when I'm back with you. And of course, until the next time we meet here, you can of course watch this again. Later on, there will be captions for you to enjoy. And of course, enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week as we head away from November into December. We all know what that means. Ta-ta for now.